Hello, everyone. You're back with me for the last day of the live. You've been hanging out with me all week since Monday, which is kind of mind blowing when you think about it because what is time, you know? Anyway, we have gone through so much this week, and today is going to be no different. Throughout the week, I have thrown all the Premiere Pro tips at you that I could squeeze into the hour. And hopefully you've been able to glean something from all this stuff. For those of y'all hitting up the replays, hi, thank you so much for sticking it out and watching the replays. Really appreciate it. Today is no different. I'm going to try to throw as much as I can at you for the hour, all around content creation and oh, we're emptying the trash outside. Sorry. All around content creation and just trying to utilize everything you can at your disposal to get more views, SEO, clickings, click-through rates, all those terms that we, for better or worse, have to know as content creators. So I'm going to try to throw as much as I can at you. But first, we're going to spend a little bit of time in Premiere because throughout the week, you'll notice that every time I was doing something in Premiere, I would try to tell you the shortcut. And so I want to go in here in Premiere for 5-10 minutes and just sort of remind you of some of my favorite shortcuts in Premiere to use to speed up the editing process for you. So we have our Mexico vlog here again. You know it, you love it. You probably are tired of seeing clips from it at this point. I'm sorry. But I want to go through some of my favorite shortcuts. Instead of always coming over here, instead of always coming over here and clicking away at these, we're going to use the shortcuts instead. My first favorite shortcut, and we're going to zoom in a little bit, the plus and minus to zoom. That's another good one. Plus and minus are on your keyboard. Zooms in and out of your timeline. First shortcut. Second favorite shortcut, Command K, Control K. When you do that, it will cut whatever is highlighted. So say I want to cut this clip right here. If I hit Command K, it's going to just cut right where my playhead is at. Now, but the thing with Command K, Control K is that you have to have something highlighted for it to work. Yes, Anika, no crickets today. We will not have crickets. Unfortunately. I mean, if we're being honest, because what's a day without crickets, really? But now let's say I want to cut everything. So we have multiple clips in this area, and I want to cut everything all the way down. Then I would hit Shift Command K or Shift Control K on a PC. And boom, now you see that cut everything down the playhead. So these can be these are the shortcuts. Those two shortcuts are what I live, breathe, and I guess eventually die by, is those two shortcuts. So much so that I have them programmed into my mouse. I use them that often. They are so helpful when just trying to move things in the timeline, get things going super quickly and easily. My next favorite shortcut to use, and I always forget the name of it because I just use the shortcut, but it's this little guy right here, the Track Select Forward tool. This is a really nifty shortcut. It's the A key on your keyboard. If you ever want to go back to just your pointer, hit the V key, V as in Victor, but it's the A key, and we'll see when we hit it. Now we have these two arrows now. And what happens is all you have to do is click once, and now everything in your timeline that is at the arrows and beyond is highlighted. Everything. And that can be really great because then say you realize you want to add some more content to that spot. You can scoot everything over, add those things back in, use your space delete, and then scrunch it back in. So another thing about using the Track Select Forward to is there's different versions of it as well. We're going to let Premiere autosave again. Thank you. I enjoy using the one where you can select everything and move it over. But a lot of times I'll also use, if I hold down the Shift key, all right, so I have my A tool is how I bring up the Track Select Forward, and then I hit Shift, I hold down shift, and now my two arrows turn to one arrow. And if I click now it selects everything. These two are linked, so that's why it's giving me that audio too. But it selects everything that's just on that track from where I clicked beyond. Again, really helpful for, say, you're doing some color correction and you know a whole section of everything you've done. Maybe you've color corrected the clip before and you like where it's at, and you know everything else you shot was in that space, in that area. Command C, Control C to copy those settings, highlight everything, paste it all there. So really easy and really helpful, you know what I'm saying? And this works across any track you're using. So say I want to use, I'm doing too many buttons. I'm like getting confusing myself. Shift, there we go. So say it's audio. I want to highlight all of these audio clips and now go into my essential sound panel, which we never got to get to in this live. Sorry about that. But essential sound panel, and I want to make a shift to, I want to do that to everything on this one track because I've organized my tracks accordingly. Boom, we've now highlighted everything on that track only. So really love the, I always forget the name. Look, I got to go look at it again. Track Select Forward tool. Really love the Track Select Forward tool for everything it can do. And then the final thing I like to tell people about the Track Select Forward tool, you'll notice now I switched it up. Now it's going the opposite way. And the way to get it to do that is we hit A once, which brings up our Track Select Forward tool. Then we hit Shift A again. And that reverses it and puts it the other way. So now instead of everything I click, when I click and highlight, it's everything going backwards beyond that is now highlighted from the point I clicked and beyond. So again, really helpful tool. I use that so often. And I just think it's something to keep in your repertoire for sure. Those are like my top 5, right? Favorite tools. Plus and minus to zoom in and out. I use that so much. Command plus makes only your video tracks bigger. Plus and minus makes only your video tracks bigger. Option plus and minus makes only your audio tracks bigger. And then plus and minus with nothing extra makes your timeline bigger and smaller. Those are, I would say those are like my favorite ones for use for sure. And so much so, I really like them so much. And if you remember, you were here on the last live, I said that I would hook y'all up with a little some for being on the lives with me. And hopefully, there we go. I remembered where I put it. So I have designed this PDF for y'all of just a few, again, of my favorite keyboard shortcuts that I use pretty often. It is an InDesign link. I designed it in InDesign this morning and published it. So that way, if you have the link, you can use it. So I'm going to throw it in the chat for y'all right now. Favorite shortcuts. I'm going to throw it in the chat for y'all. Oh, my link doesn't work. Well, hopefully one of the moderators will repost it and make it look cool. Also, I will go ahead and do this there. But this is, again, a really simple PDF I designed of all my favorite shortcuts. Keep them in mind, kind of commit them to memory. Because again, working in Premiere, thank you, Sam, appreciate you. Working in Premiere can feel very hard and like suffocating, but once you get the shortcuts down, it's like game over. You know what I'm saying? That is how I've gotten to be able to edit as quickly as I do. So download this. You can easily download it by hitting the download PDF button right there. And for those of y'all watching the replay, I will make sure that this stays up in my Adobe account for at least the next year. So that way you can check it out if you're watching me on replay. Wherever you're watching me on replay. So that's the first thing, favorite shortcuts. The other thing I want to mention real quick is where to find the master shortcut list in Premiere. I put it in the PDF, but also all you have to do is come up here to the top, Premiere, keyboard shortcuts. Click on that, and it brings up this table right here. Now it says custom for me because I have put in a couple of different new things, but for the most part, this is actually what comes standard in Premiere. Also, if you're someone who is coming to Premiere from another editing software, you can also see if some of the other things you have used before are listed there, and it'll essentially turn, like maybe you had learned the shortcuts for Final Cut Pro 7. Backstory on me, that's actually how I came to be a Premiere Pro user. Was when Final Cut Pro 10 came out, I was like, I'm sorry, what? And I left and came to Premiere Pro. I'm aging myself, like, very obviously, but anyway. And I did that, and the way I made that transition easier was I used the Final Cut Pro 7 keyboard shortcut layout for the first like couple months before I slowly started to learn the rest of them. So keep that in mind, that you can also transition through shortcuts if that's how you know how to use them. And you'll see in here, it shows you what everything on the keyboard means. And when you hit shift or things like that, if you hit shift, it shows you now what changes if you hit shift, what changes if you hit command. So this is a really cool way, again, to start to expand your knowledge, to see what's going on. Oh, I see a question. No, Sean, you do not need InDesign installed to use the PDF I gave you. It's literally just a link that you can use in InDesign, and it publishes it to the web. It just creates a website for the PDF for it to live on. And like I said, all you had to do is download it and save it to your computer, and now you got it. So yeah, it's just a little some, because sharing is caring. And that's what we do over here. We share because we care. All right. So that was the first thing. I wanted to hop into Premiere and just remind y'all of some of my favorite keyboard shortcuts, and then also give you that lovely PDF, which is now in the chat in a link that works, which is awesome. The next thing I want to talk about, and I think if you're someone who's been content creating for a while, it's kind of the bane of your existence, but it's so relevant, which is deep collective sigh with me, everyone. Thumbnails. We hate them, but we have to know how to do them, and we have to know how to utilize them to the best of our abilities. I personally struggle with thumbnails. All the tips from now on that I'm about to give you are definitely tips in regard with that you should keep in mind, with the caveat of do as Hallease says, not as Hallease does. All right, because I consider myself an artiste, a creative, an enigma, if you will. And so even though I know the things you should do for better viewership and engagement and all those things, I often refuse to do them. So, but that doesn't mean I don't want you to use them and learn from them and get the views. I want nothing but 5-figure brand deals and 6-figure brand deals for you in your future. So we're going to talk a little bit about thumbnails and just things to keep in mind with thumbnails. First things first, though, keeping Premiere open right now, because something you can do in Premiere that I think a lot of people forget about is if you have a moment that you just want to capture as a thumbnail, as a image, if you will, it's very easy to do that in Premiere. You just come to this little camera right here, okay, export frame, and it'll just export a frame. So usually as I'm editing, I'm always constantly thinking about what the thumbnail will be, what the title will be as I'm editing any piece of, especially long form content. Obviously, we're talking about this in regards to YouTube specifically. But say I wanted to export this frame, I'll just click the camera. It opens up a new box for me. Everything's already saved the way I usually have it, because I do this quite often, but you can pick what format you want, PNG, JPEG, etc. You can change the name if you want to. I usually don't, because what I do is when I'm building my master folder that I'm using for the month, I have a subfolder called thumbnails. And that is where I just throw things in that I know I'm eventually going to play around with to create my thumbnail from. So for now, I'm just going to hit OK. And then what I do as I'm editing, again, I'm picking thumbnails, seeing like different moments in a video that I'm like, that's an interesting image, that's an interesting freeze frame. I just want to save those, put them in a folder. Cool. Then what I do once I've finished editing my video, looks good, everything's great, I usually go into Photoshop, and I have built out a template for myself of designing thumbnails in Photoshop based on all the different sizes I know I will need across social media if I decide to promote a video across social media. So in my master, and I call this my master template folder, PSD, Photoshop folder. So in mine, I have the YouTube thumbnail size, which is 1920 by 1080. I have a vertical thumbnail size, which you can see has the show still on it for some reason. I have a 4x5 thumbnail size. I have a podcast one because podcasts are usually 3000 by 3000 pixels. So I have that size just ready. Again, my Patreon, I have the banner for that. I have them all just here ready to go. And what I'll do is I'll then come into my documents. Let me move those so you don't see all my stuff. There we go. Get there. Okay. So then what I'll do is you see my thumbnail folder that I have in my root, monthly project folder that I talked about in the first live on Monday. But all the thumbnails that I pull from Premiere, I just have them in here. Okay, that's the one we just pulled just now. And, as we've been working on this Mexico video, I've been slowly pulling out just little moments where I was like, that could be interesting. Maybe I'll do something with that. I don't know, That's from the giveaway. Hilarious. All right. But yeah, so I'll take them and then I'll just drag something in. Okay, cool. And then I'll start messing with it all from here. Now, if necessary, then, maybe I'll take whatever design elements I did and I'll copy paste and throw them into the podcast one if it is ending up to being a podcasting episode, whatever the thing may be. When it's time to export, I just come up here to our export settings and I hit export as. Now you can hit quick export as JPEG, but what that's going to do is it's going to export every single artboard if you do that. So usually I just want one or maybe two different ones. I don't need all of them usually. So I usually go to export as, which brings up a new window that's in the other thing. Let me pull it over. There it goes. And what that does is it brings up a new window and you'll see that all the artboards are selected now. Just unclick that and pick the one I want. So I want this one, the YouTube short one. Oftentimes I just leave all of this the same because whatever it is good. And then hit export and it'll send me to where I want to save it. And this is where I live. Now, something else you can do is you can also use Adobe Express to design your thumbnails. I'm just kind of grandfathered into Photoshop. I know Photoshop relatively well. I really like it, but Adobe Express is definitely good. My husband runs a storytelling podcast that he's now putting on YouTube. And for all of his thumbnails, he goes into Express because he's a writer. He doesn't know Photoshop. It's too much. So he uses Express for his thumbnails. And they be looking good too. I'm like, dang, I need to be over there sometimes. Anyway, all that to say, because I continually am in the giving spirit, I have cleaned up this template. I've cleaned it up for you, deleted everything that was irrelevant, and have this ready now for you to download if you want it. Again, people watching on the replay, I'll try to keep this template project up for the next year or so for y'all watching the replay. But I will throw it in the chat, and I'm sure one of our moderators will help us out with fixing it if my link doesn't work. Let's see here. But it's part of my Creative Cloud account, and I mean, I'm never not going to have a Creative Cloud account. So PSD template, bada bing, bada boom. Hopefully our moderators can help us out with making the link live. Double check that it works too. But yeah, this is a new template that I've cleaned up for y'all to use when creating any sort of thumbnail that you need across social media. I hope you enjoy it. I hope it's helpful. And again, I will try to leave this live on my Creative Cloud account for at least the next year for those of y'all watching the replay. The other thing I want to show you in regards to templates is this lovely little website. I don't know who designed it at all. I wish I did so I could pat them on the back. But the website is called Thumbs Up TV. I'm going to go ahead and do our QR code for a hot second so you can see it. But Thumbs Up TV. And I love using this whenever I'm trying to figure out what thumbnail. Yes, it's a PSD file, Sean. It's a Photoshop file for you to use. But yes, when I'm trying to decide between thumbnails, when I'm like torn, I'm like, do I like this one? Do I like this one? Do I want to go for the melancholy? Do I want to go for the positive? Like, what do I want to do? I throw them into this website so that way I can see what they look like across all of YouTube. I have no idea who designed this website. Whoever they are, God bless you. May you live long and prosper. Yeah. But I'm going to show you how it works real quick. So let's take a couple of thumbnail ideas I've been working through for the Mexico vlog that I am still deciding which one I want to use. You can see all of these right here are all the different thumbnails that I'm currently deciding which one I want to use for the Mexico vlog. We can talk through it if you want. We don't have to. Y'all don't have to help me. But anyway, let's go with which one we want to use. Let's go with let's go with like this one. Sure, let's go with this one. So I'm dropping it in, and you'll see once I drop it in, it shows me what it looks like. It shows me what it looks like. Large, small, sidebar, channel page large. Like, it shows you all the different ways it'll be seen across the YouTube platform. Column, Apple TV, what it'll look like. It's crazy. I love this website, y'all. I use it so often just to see if everything's reading, because I think the thing that a lot of us will struggle with our thumbnail design is the thumbnail looks really good full size, on a big monitor while you're working on it. You're getting into the detail. Oh, a template PSD file. No, so this is just a straight up PSD file that I have cleaned up for you that you just have now. It's just you. It's yours. Save it to your Creative Cloud, save as, do with it whatever you will. So yeah, I didn't copyright it or anything. I'm just a mess. Anyway, yeah, sorry, Sean. It's not a template file, technically. It's just a straight up PSD file. Okay, but yeah, I really love this because it shows you how everything looks across all of YouTube, which I think can be really helpful. And it also shows you what actually might not be working depending on the size. Because you have to remember, this is for people who are hopefully going to click on your video so you get that click-through rate. And so you want to make sure that things are actually visible. Like, what does it look like on a phone? What does it look like across the sidebar? What does it look like everywhere? And so I use this website a lot to see what thumbnails look like. So that's my first tip. Technically, this live stream has a title, and I believe it's like 5 tips to help you out. Anyway, my first tip is thumbnails matter, and here are some things you can utilize to make sure that your thumbnails are starting to look as good as they possibly can. The other thing I do with my thumbnails that I'll do on my other social media platforms, if I'm stuck between like 2 or 3 different thumbnails ideas, I'll just like share them on Instagram, and I'll be like, which one of these thumbnails speaks to you more? Like, I utilize my audience a lot as a impromptu focus group, if you will. Yeah. So don't be afraid to do that, because that also promotes engagement across social media, and that's the name of the game. So the other final thing, my other final tip in regards to thumbnails is don't be afraid to change your thumbnail after a day or two once your video goes live. There are times when I used to be a producer for a PBS show that had a YouTube channel, and I would actually create 4 or 5 thumbnails for one episode of that show and then cycle through them. Like, I would change it out every like 1 or 2 days. Oh, what happened to my live screen? Oh, there we go. I would change it out every 1 or 2 days, and it was a good time. And I would notice that people in the comments would then be like, oh, wow, that was really helpful. Now, that makes me like want to click on this video now because you've like showed me more sections of the video. So keep that in mind as well. All right. The next thing I want to talk about real quick is how to like overall bring up your audience engagement more, especially if you're someone who's new to content creation. It can be really hard to break out. The internet is loud and vast and hard to break through it. And my big tip for that is rather, you need to give people a reason to want to come to you and to want to watch you. And in the beginning, when they don't know you, when they haven't invested in you as a creative, as a person yet, you need to be adding value to them as much as humanly possible. I find the best way to do that is through teaching people something. Tutorials and how-tos are a great way to break out, especially on YouTube and on TikTok. You know, TikTok is starting to give Google a run for its money in regards to being a search engine. And so when you're creating content, a lot of times it's about actually thinking about how to make your title, your description box searchable, and then how to have content that is searchable. Most people use search engines to find the answer to a question. So if you go to your YouTube Studio Analytics, in the Analytics tab, Research tab, this is a relatively new thing within YouTube Analytics, but you can do searches across YouTube to see like what people are starting to look up. And then you can also do your viewers searches. So say you have, oh, we got some stuff happening in the chat. Everybody keep it civil. We chilling, all right? Don't be that way. Anyway, say you do have a little bit of an audience that's starting to follow you, and you want to try to figure out how best to engage with them. Maybe you're trying to figure out your content strategy overall. Do as I say, not as I do. If you hit that, you'll now see what people are searching who follow you already. So it's kind of like giving people what they want. And so if I look at mine right now, okay, so I have ASMR, and that's probably because a lot of people comment on my voice. They like my voice. So I have ASMR in mine, Capricorn for some reason. I don't know why that's there. I'm a Virgo, but anyway. Van life content seems to be Amazon finds. Interesting. Mexico City. The Mexico vlog went live yesterday, so cool. That's one of my high volume search terms right now. Neat. Hydroponics, that's a different way to grow plants, which I did a whole bunch of those videos back in 2020. So a lot of people find me from that content as well. But you can see I can start to like kind of figure out, okay, what kind of content should I maybe be trying to produce if my overall goal is to grow? Definitely check this out though. Again, it's in your analytics. I'm in the back studio of my YouTube channel right now. It's in your analytics search bar. Let's type, what are people, we're going to go off script. Premiere Pro. Let's see, like, if I wanted to make a video about Premiere Pro. Okay, how to edit videos for YouTube. Good to know. Free download. Content gap. Okay. What does that mean? Oh, interesting. Point of the story is YouTube is often trying to help you create content that will answer problems for people within your group who maybe are watching you or discovering your content. So utilize this research bar as much as you can. And remember, first and foremost, YouTube and TikTok specifically are search engines. So the more you can teach people how to do things, do little tutorials, especially if you're going to start engaging in YouTube Shorts. That can be really helpful and a great way to boost your numbers. The way I hit 100K at the end of last year was actually from doing YouTube Shorts and doing tutorials in YouTube Shorts. I was sitting at like 90K for like ever from most of last year. And then in October, I just pushed out a whole bunch of tutorial shorts, and that got me over the 100K mark. So it works. We hate doing it, but it works, you know? My next tip though. All right, so my next tip is to be consistent. And again, this is the do as I say, not as I do live for creating content, but be consistent. I always say this piece of advice though, with a little bit of a caveat, and we can go full screen on me for a while because it's just going to be this screen. I don't really have something to show with this one, but be consistent. And I say that with the caveat of you decide what consistency is for you though. Okay. We don't all live your life. You know what consistency is for you. For me, when I was first starting as a content creator on YouTube, I did one video a week. I did not tell people my schedule. I did not tell people anything. I just knew internally for me, roughly every 7 days, there was going to be a new video on my channel. Now, my current schedule of releasing is 1 video a week. So 1 video roughly every 7 days, and then 1 to 2 shorts in between each video. And again, if you look at my channel, I don't have any sort of like Monday, Wednesday, Friday at noon. Like I don't have any of that because nope. I have decided what consistency is for me, and I try to stick to it as long as humanly possible until something in my life ultimately changes again. The other thing that I always tell people to consider in regards to consistency as well is deciding what your ratio is of content you will do specifically to grow, and then content you will do to like enrich your soul and make it not a burden for you, make it fun for you. So some of my friends who are content creators, they have 1 video for them, 1 video for me. This is just something I want to put on the channel. This is just important to me. Other content creators I know are like 2 or 3 for them, 1 for me, and that's the ratio. For me and my content is mostly like 100% all for me. And again, that's why it took me like 10 years to hit 100K. So do as I say, not as I do. But figure out what that ratio is for yourself, and try to implement it as much as possible, because burnout is real. And I find that if you don't figure out that ratio early on, you'll struggle with it and you'll burn out and you won't really have fun with it. And, things need to be fun for you to keep wanting to do them. My final tip, which is interesting because we still got quite a bit of time to fill. So, if you have questions about content creation, let me know down below in the comments. But my final tip is to batch your content as much as humanly possible. Now, I think a lot of us all kind of know about batching content in regards to like filming. So maybe you film 2 to 3 videos at a time, and you can get deep into it, like, change your shirt in between each video so it seems like you filmed on a different day. I'm living that minimalist life, so I don't even do that. I'm wearing the same clothes usually in multiple videos at a time. But yeah, you can batch your content on the filming side of things. But something else I do is I also batch my content on the release side. So I usually don't have a video go live on my channel until I already have the video I will put up after that one unlisted and ready to go on my YouTube channel as well. So that way I'm always low-key a little bit ahead of the audience's perception of my content. So think about which end you want to batch your content. Maybe at both ends. Maybe you want to batch when you film and batch when you release. But I find that, batching is another way to just keep things moving. You know what I'm saying? Because, wow. I've thrown a lot at y'all. Any questions in the chat for me specifically about being a content creator? And I can give you some more do as I say, not as I do tips off the cuff, if you will. Anything else? Thank you, David. I'm glad that was a good tip for you. I'm glad you got something from it. I'm going to check. I am not on Discord. I didn't know that was a thing. My B. I tell you where I am, though. And I was also going to mention this in the live anyway, towards the end, but we're filling time. So something else I will say is to check out the Creator Camp community. Like, if you felt like everything I went through on Premiere Pro today, oh, can we show the screen? Sorry. If you felt like everything I went over today was a little too Crazy Time USA, a little too quick, all of that kind of stuff, if you felt like that, then you should definitely check out the Creator Camp community. This is a completely free community created by Adobe, okay, where you can learn Premiere Pro from me. I've designed a whole course on here for free for people. And yeah, I teach you the ins and outs of Premiere Pro with a content creator mindset specifically. So definitely check this out. video.adobecommunity.co is the website to sign up. I will copy it and throw it in the chat. But really amazing community. We also have like really awesome mentors here as well, that I think y'all should know about. Mandy Celine is another video producer, digital storyteller online. She teaches Adobe. We also have Mike Russell, who does like audio stuff, like Audio Whiz. He goes live on here as well. Who else? Oh my goodness. Who else? I'm beginning. Oh, Evan Abrams, who also goes live here on Behance quite a bit, actually. He is also a mentor in the Creator Camp community as well, and he does all things After Effects, all things graphics. Okay. He actually even designed some free Mogurts that Mogurt, do we know how to say it yet? Somebody told me and I forgot. Anyway, he designed free templates for Premiere Pro and threw them in this community. So this is like a really cool place to be, y'all. Definitely check it out. Yeah, definitely check it out. I see some people in the chat saying stuff. Will you do more live streams? I mean, I won't not do anymore. I don't think I'm slated for anything else soon. So, but yeah, I mean, I'll be back. If they'll have me, I'll be back. Creator Camp community, though, cannot stress that enough. It is so awesome. Like, seriously. Is any YouTube in the chat? I don't know what that question means, but all right. Oh, I did see another question and I don't know where it went. Oh, you signed up for the Creator Camp community? Oh my gosh. Welcome, Alejandra. Welcome. Mogurt. Ah, thank you. Oh, this is how you hear. Okay, cool. Thank you. Love that. Let me see here. Aspect ratios, or do you find yourself having... Ah, cool. So Philip Harvey has a question here. Sorry if I missed this topic already. Do you record specifically for certain aspect ratios, or do you find yourself having to conform wider aspect ratios to social? Opposite, or the latter, not the former. So I tend to film in 4K, horizontal. And then, yes, I find myself in post shifting things around to fit a vertical timeline. Tip on that is something I've started to do to two bird, one stone it, if you will, is when I am shooting in 4K, I have my rule of thirds lines up. And I'm always kind of thinking in terms of like, okay, I want my biggest action to happen in that center third. So when I do go vertical, it works. I'm pushing in, but I'm still getting the main idea of every shot. So that's how I tend to film. And I also do tend to film a little bit wider now, just in general, whenever I'm filming horizontal, knowing full well that I will probably make something vertical from that and then film it. Final tip on that, Philip, as well, is the cameras I use also shoot vertical natively, which depending on what type of content I'm creating, if I know this is something that I specifically am going to have go vertical, I'm not going to do anything with it in the long form, I'll just go ahead and flip my camera vertical and shoot vertically. So that way all the clips are also vertical. So I shoot on the Sony ZV-1, which is this little guy that I'm streaming with y'all through right now. It's a really great, quick and easy content creator camera because everything's like built in and you can just throw it on auto and it's good for you. I think I'm doing a giveaway on my channel. So I think I just have one. Hold on. To show y'all. Yeah, this thing. So ZV-1, really great little camera. I will say it is a bit pricey, but that's because of the Zeiss glass in it and all that kind of craziness. But really great camera. Shoots 4K, shoots native vertical. Really cool. And then when I'm doing like bigger budgety cinematography things, I have an FX3 that I film with, which is their lower end cinema line camera. It's like the intro cinema line camera. Use that a lot. And that's when you're seeing me like sit down, lit well, all that kind of stuff. I use that camera. And then my other camera that I have, my B camera, is my Sony A7C. I'm a Sony person. So I have the A7C as well, which is a really cool, I would say like next level up full frame vlogger camera. That's how I would define that camera. It also takes really great photos. All these cameras take really great photos too. So yeah, that's my answer to that question, Phil. Let's see. Ooh, I see people. Everybody's in the chat. Hold on. I need to see what's going on in this chat, though. Move selected clip to the playhead. Ooh, This is a question from Alejandra. Back to the shortcuts. There is there any way? I think that's what she's asking. There is any shortcut to move a selected clip to the playhead? Oh, not to my knowledge, but let's see. Not to my knowledge, but that's the thing about Premiere. It is a crazy big thing. Can we show my other screen real quick? So you're asking if there's a way to like, say you have everything like out here, and then you want to like have it come straight to where the playhead is, which is right there. Now, it would do that with this moment because I would just click the dead space and hit back or delete, and boom. Yeah, I would just ripple delete and close that space, but not because the playhead's there, just because that is just where the next clip is. To do what you're talking about, I'm not so sure there's any way to necessarily do that. There might be, like, I would not be surprised if there is. I just don't know the shortcut. Something I usually do is I'll just drag and move things myself where I want them to go. And do things like turn on snapping to line it up to where the playhead is. But in regards to just like hitting the space and closing, that's how that works. You just hit the space and close it up. I'm in the chat. So much going on in this chat. Oh my goodness. Oh, right. Yeah, you can use time code. That's a thing too. I rarely do that, but yeah. Mohammed is asking, how do you get more impressions on YouTube? Genuinely, how-tos and tutorials. Like that is genuinely how. Especially if you're starting off and you're trying to grow. People don't really have a reason to like you yet. Not to like sound terrible, because I'm sure you're an amazing person, Muhammad, and there's tons of interesting things about you. But how-tos and tutorials are the best way to just get more eyes on you, get your impressions higher overall. And they can be about anything. I remember something I did when I was first starting off on YouTube was I kept getting an ad for these Mahabis, and I think this company is still around. I kept getting an ad for these Mahabis slippers. And I finally just bought them and did a tutorial on them. And that video, for the longest time, it got me like, at the time, I was maybe at like 5,000 subscribers. It was pretty small. And that video got me like 50,000 views. It was crazy because they had been running so many ads trying to get people to buy them. People were curious about if they were good or not. I did an honest review, and that's how I grew, you know? So, yeah, how-tos and tutorials, that, or, do something absurd safely that is within the YouTube guidelines in shorts, be funny. And that's another way to grow relatively quickly as well. Okay. I think I caught up on the chat. If anyone has any more questions, let me know in the chat. I will try to make sure I am seeing them. I think I caught up, though. I think I caught up. Yes, it looks like I did. All right. Cool. Let's see here. My final thoughts. Aside from, obviously, joining the Creator Camp community, you can also check me out on Skillshare. That's a thing. I teach over there quite a bit. It's a good time. But I would recommend the Adobe Creator Camp community over Skillshare. I'm kind of shooting myself in the foot by saying this, but I would recommend the Adobe Creator Camp because it's free. Just saying, it's just my 2 cents. The other thing I want to talk to you about, though, is YouTube University. I am not opposed to watching a good tutorial on brand with Muhammad's question. I am not opposed to watching a good tutorial on YouTube. And I follow 2 really cool people that do a ton of Premiere Pro tutorials, from very simple things to pretty advanced edits. The first one is Javier Mercedes. He like blows my mind often. I've been in Premiere for, I'm dating myself. I've been in Premiere for like 10 years. I mean, I already kind of dated myself by saying Final Cut Pro 7, but I've been in Premiere for a minute. And he will still put out a tutorial and show me something. I'm like, oh my gosh, I would have never thought to use that tool that way, or I forgot that tool is a thing, or I didn't even know that was a tool in here. So he is so fun, and he is a professional editor. But he often will just make his tutorials super interesting. Like I think I remember watching this. He did like a whole coffee parody thing and taught me like a crap ton of stuff about Premiere Pro in this fun coffee parody. Check him out though. Give him a good old subscribe. Love his stuff. He has no idea who I am, but Javier, love your stuff. Another person that I watch here on the YouTube University side of things is Premiere Gal. Obviously, as you can tell, I mean, her channel's called Premiere Gal. So everything she does is more or less Premiere Pro focused. I think every now and then she will, yeah, so Photoshop's one of her most viewed ones. Every now and then she will dip into other Adobe software like Photoshop, like After Effects. I have seen her do a lot of After Effects tutorials actually. But she be giving you the insider baseball on some things that'll be coming out with Premiere. Like if I ever want to just kind of keep an ear to the, what do you call it? What's that saying? Ear to the door, ear to the nose to the, y'all know what I'm talking about. Whenever I want to do that kind of stuff, I make sure to just like check in on Premiere Gal's channel to see what new stuff is coming out with Premiere. Like this AI clone effect. Okay, I don't even, what is that? I want to know. I don't know. Anyway, she's really cool. Someone else y'all should definitely check out. All right? Wait, oh, hold on. I see a question. I see a question. Oh, thank you, Philip. I appreciate that. Here we go. Here's a question from Megan. Have the demonetization changes on YouTube affected your channel at all? I keep hearing YouTubers are getting the demonetization hit on their old videos, even if they don't have swearing. Yeah. Thankfully, I'm doing all right. Thankfully, I haven't had that happen to me. For those of y'all who don't know what Megan's talking about, recently YouTube changed some of their policies around when you can and cannot curse, essentially, in a video. So for the longest time, if you didn't say anything too profane in the first, like, it was pretty short because, you know, most people's click through is pretty. But if you didn't say anything too crazy within the first like 7 or 8 seconds, it was on all hands on deck after that, and you didn't really have to worry about losing your monetization on that video, or even just getting like the little yellow where it's like there's still ads running on it, but the ads are limited. Not every advertiser wants to be associated with a video with a lot of cursing involved. So recently, though, they have changed the rules, and I want to say now it's closer to like 30 seconds, something like that. I need to reread the policy. But yeah, essentially, a lot of people, because of this change, there's been like a backlog of videos that are now getting demonetized. And they're having to go in and like manually be like, someone review this, please, you know? That hasn't really been an issue for me because I tend to be pretty PG on my channel. I ask a lot of existential questions. I ask a lot of provoking conversations. I do talk about race relations, things like that in this country, the United States. But overall, my stuff is pretty PG. Like you can have me playing in the background and kids be around. So that's usually not an issue for me. But if you're someone who has a strong mouth, that's how you like to convey yourself and your feelings, keep that in mind. That, yeah, it's something that's really messing with people right now. I've had a few friends who are content creators who are, thank you, Oliver, ear to the ground. I have a few content creator friends who are definitely struggling with that right now. And I'm like, dang, sorry, y'all. That's a bummer, you know? So yeah. Any other YouTube questions while we just sit on Premiere Gal's channel? Let's move over to Javier. We'll give Javier some love too. Any other questions though, as we are slowly but surely wrapping up this live? Let me know in the chat because I'm happy to be here. Our top 5 tips today. All right. We went over my favorite keyboard shortcuts, which I love. I gave y'all a PDF to check out. It's in the chat, and hopefully it'll be like in the description box of the replay or something. I'm sure we can maybe make that happen. But check that out. Please utilize it as much as you can. Then I went into 5 tips for content creation because that's the title of this live. So my first tip was thumbnails do matter. For better or worse, we have to utilize them. So I tried to give y'all as many tips as I could around making the best thumbnail that you can possible. So things like building a master Photoshop project, which I also gave y'all to then use at your discretion. Thinking about using Adobe Express if Photoshop is a little too much, like if Photoshop's doing the most for you, that's fine. Head over to Express. It's a good time over there. What else did we do? Oh, feel free to test out your thumbnails, utilize your audience. Remember YouTube has a whole community tab as well. I do polls in there for thumbnails. On my Instagram, I'll do an Instagram stories having people vote on my thumbnails. Utilize your community and make that be more fodder for engagement. Everything's about engagement. The more you can get people to stay on your site or engage with your site, the better. And then don't be afraid to play around. Don't be afraid to have a thumbnail up for a day, see how the video is performing, change the thumbnail. Do that as well. Don't be afraid to play around with it. Have fun with it. My second tip was, the first tip was the keyboard shortcuts. Second tip was thumbnails matter. I'm looking at my notes. Third tip, how to grow. Teach people something you've learned. Give people a reason to invest in you as a person and start to value your creativity. Teach people something that you've learned, even if you don't feel like you're an expert at it. Just teach people. Another thing, actually a caveat I will throw in with that as well. People love seeing journeys. So if it's like day 1 of 100 of me starting to learn Spanish, things like that, people love that too. People want to see where you've come from and where you're going. Journeys do really well. Number 4, decide what consistency means for you. Okay, everyone defines consistency differently. Maybe for you, it's once every 2 weeks. When I used to run a PBS show, it was once every 2 weeks. That was every time an episode came out. So, there you go. Maybe it's once a week. Maybe it's one long video and a couple of shorts. Maybe it's one live a week and one regular video. Decide what it is for you. Go from there. And then the other thing I would say is decide your ratio. How many are for audience growth with audience growth in mind, and how many are for you to just fulfill your spirit and your soul and that creative vibe that you just want to manifest in yourself always. For me, every video is for me, which is why I don't grow. But for you, maybe it's 1 for them, 1 for you, 5 for them, 1 for you. Figure out your ratio. And then finally, batch your content. Figure out how you can work smarter, not harder, as much as humanly possible. Try to film 2 to 3 videos at a time. Yesterday after our live, actually, I sat down and filmed like 5 vertical pieces of content because they all just kind of came to me at once. And I was like, you know what, let me just sit here and record these real quick so I can just trickle these out. You know what I'm saying? Did that yesterday. So batch filming and then batch editing, not releasing out anything until you have, not releasing out a video until you already have the next video queued up and ready and offline. I think that can be really helpful with just keeping your mental health in check and being good. In regards to TikToks and shorts, maybe you batch film 3 or 4 shorts, TikToks, reels, batch edit them all. Don't put out the first one until you've edited like 5 of them. Because, things move a little faster in the vertical content game. You do need to kind of be posting once or twice a day almost, I find. Eek. Or, once every 2 days or something. So figure out your ratio with that. And those are my big 5 tips. Ooh, we're coming to the end of the stream. Christopher. Come to the end of the stream. Would you like to give a review of my channel? Muhammad, so if you're in the YouTube Join community, or if not YouTube Join, if you're in the Creator Camp community, that is something that we do over there, is we'll review channels and everything. All right, so let's go ahead and make me full screen, please. We are coming to the end of a week of lives, 4 days of lives, with me, Hallease, a digital storyteller and video producer, based currently in Texas. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Thank you for being on the stream. We have soared, if you will, into the end of the stream. And we have streamers in the background here. This is my husband, Chris. He is celebrating the stream with streamers. Thank you again so much. Y'all have an amazing week. Y'all have an amazing weekend. And yeah, hopefully I will see y'all again soon. Bye.